Welcome back on this beautiful Friday evening to Sports Talk with Hawk. I am Hawk, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. Hopefully, you have plenty of plans for the weekend. Hopefully, your Friday went smooth. Work is done. Time for a couple well deserved days off. Well, we've got the Hawks pick six plus our extra point to get to. This is Friday morning when I am recording this. I did not get the top 10 podcasts posted this week. Um, Honestly, after everything kind of switched around and I ran through the rumor mill and the trade windmill, with Hopkins getting traded to the Chiefs, which I think is a. They may look like the clowns now. I know. I've been wrong. Not wrong. I haven't been wrong about the Chiefs. But the Chiefs defense has been really good. They have had some very favorable calls at the end of games, which are no longer able to be ignored. Um, they've got injuries, so they should be losing. But they only have injuries on offense. They do not have injuries on defense. So, with that being said, I've got the defense this week in fantasy. I'm playing them against the Raiders. Gardner Minshew threw 3 interceptions last week, plus the fumble. I don't see that being any different this week. I don't see a game plan working. The Chiefs are a little bit better than the Rams when it comes to defense, but I will say, give the Rams credit. I thought it was going to be a rough game for the Vikings. I really did. I thought it was going to be a very rough game for the Vikings. Thursday night game, cross country. Uh, but here's the thing. I don't know if the Rams believe they can make a run or not. Cooper Kupp is on the market. And from what I've heard from different places that I read, Matthew Stafford is potentially available. And the team he could be going to is the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings, after last night's loss, may be willing to give up their first round pick this year and Sam Darnold to get Matthew Stafford. They feel they are missing that key piece, which I would agree with 100%. So please don't think I don't agree with this idea. I don't know if the Rams believe they can truly compete. To be a billionaire, to be successful, you have to be honest. And that is something that Les Snead, Stan Kroenke, and Sean McVay have been. Last year, they overachieved. This year, the injuries decimated them. Puka Nacua is back. Cooper Kupp is back. Kyren Williams is an absolute stud at running back. The offensive line is going to get healthier, but is it too little too late? And do they really believe they have a shot at the Super Bowl? Or do they feel they are 1 year away? And that 1 year could legitimately be getting 2 first-round draft picks. It's potential. It's absolute potential. I don't see any other reason whatsoever. The Vikings are in we think we can win now mode with Justin Jefferson, Aaron Jones, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. Lord Help Us is coming back for the game against the Colts, which means the Colts are absolutely screwed on Monday Night Football. After a long rest for the Vikings, they're going to have 10 days off. They're going to be fully healthy heading into that game next week against the Indianapolis Colts. But not to look too far ahead, because we really don't want to do that right now. Let's focus on this week. So I got 7 games this week that we're going to pick, and we got some good ones. We also have some lines. I'm going to tell you what Vegas thinks along with some of these, just to give you an idea of what is really going through the minds of those who do this for a living, as far as professional gambling and spreads and bets and picking winners, losers, etc. Because it really is fun to dig into their brains. It really is. So we're going to jump into it. We're going to jump right into it. So game number 1 that we're going to go off of is the Cincinnati Bengals and the Philadelphia Eagles. This game really looks weird. The Philadelphia Eagles are favored by 2.5 on the road against the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't know about that. There's a lot inside of me. And when they do a 2.5, what they normally call it is a hook. The most common hook is 3.5. That's what they call a hook. If a team is favored by 3.5, you take the hook and bet the under, so that you bet they only win by a field goal. 2.5, they're wanting you to bet Philadelphia. Philadelphia by 3. Now, I'm going outright Cincinnati. I think they see the Steelers winning. Zach Taylor, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. The Philadelphia defense hasn't been as buttoned up. I still don't think the offense is playing great outside of Saquon Barkley. I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to just beat you. Now, this could be another 48-45 game like the Raven game. But I don't think at the end of the day, Philadelphia is currently in a position to go on the road against a team that is a mirror image of themselves. I don't think they can beat them. Cincinnati, I cannot believe this, but I am going to go Cincinnati outright over the Philadelphia Eagles. I am calling upset at home in the Bengal Den. That's what I'm going with. So pick number 1, the Bengals over the Philadelphia Eagles. Pick number 2, the Texans over the Indianapolis Colts, although I think the spread may be a little bit too far. Currently, it is at 5.5. Now, that's not really a hook, but 5.5 is above 4. I know, math, it's great. But I don't think this is going to be as far of a blowout game, only because it's interdivision. I think the Texans win. I think 5.5 points is way too high. They're daring you to bet under with the Colts, and I'm definitely taking it. I think the Colts will be a lot closer because I think they've got the big playability, which the Texans have had trouble stopping. I think they lose by 4, maybe 5, but the only 5 I really see is going to be an odd number. I really, if it's going to be a 5, I see a really, really odd number. 21-16, 23-18. If the Texans, end up scoring a lot of points, I could see this game being 28-24, 31-27. I think the Colts keep it close, but I think the Texans win this game at home, and this starts the Colts' 5-game losing streak. That's what I believe. That's what I think right now. The next game that we're going to pick, so we got the Bengals over the Eagles, the Texans over the Colts. The next game is the Green Bay Packers, which are favored by 4.5 points over the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville. Here's the thing about Jordan Love. And this is something that it's starting to become common. He's got a little bit of Brett Favre in him. Now, if you guys remember the Indianapolis Colts Jacksonville Jaguar game, the Jaguars got some turnovers, but their defense, I don't like their defensive coordinator. I do not like the scheme. I would not do anything to this team except replace the coaching. There are 3 major prongs of a team. A fourth is kind of a smaller prong. But you have coaching, schematics, players. Coaching, schematics, players. And the fourth prong slightly is ownership. I'm sorry. People love to dump on the cons. What if the cons done wrong? Jacksonville's staying there. They've signed their big players that are productive to contracts. What are the cons doing wrong? So ownership is not coming into this. It's a small prong anyway, but ownership isn't coming into this. Schematics, coaching, and players. All 3 of those have to be working, and sometimes you got to look in the mirror and be honest and change something about it. Guess what? Guess what needs to change? The schematics and coaching. I do not believe the players are the problem, but I believe the coaching and the schematics are. Shad Khan needs to rip out the coaching, bring in guys that are ready to coach and ready to go win now, that are energetic, aware of the current situation, like a Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn, give Dan Quinn credit. Somewhat older coach. Brings in Cliff Kingsbury. Somebody that knows how to scheme plays. Somebody that knows how to play call. And look at what that offense is doing. Doug Peterson's offense is old. It's outdated. It doesn't work. It feels a lot like the Frank Reich last year in Indianapolis. It's just done. Mike McCarthy's offense, old, boring. It's done. You got to catch up. But here's the other thing. Texans play the Colts. The Colts lose, they're 4-4. The Jaguars are looking at the Colts schedule going, we can jump them. They could lose the next 5 games. We could climb back into this wild card. It's a weak wild card in the AFC. We got the Packers at home. Most of their receivers are questionable to play. I don't think there's a receiver that Green Bay has that isn't questionable. But Jordan Love has a little bit of Brett Favre. He keeps throwing really bad interceptions, and it's going to burn them. It will burn them. It almost burned them against the Texans. On the road, Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, last 3 games has been playing very smart, very safe. And I'm going to go with another upset. Upsets keep the season interesting, but it's also because these guys understand. They're not out of the playoffs. The Chargers lost to the Cardinals. The wild card is wide open. The odds are the Steelers are not going to keep they can go 9-8. 8-9 can get you a different playoff spot. I mean, just the reality of it here, guys. So pick number 1, the Bengals over the Eagles. Pick number 2, Texans over the Colts. Pick number 3, we're going Jaguars over the Packers. Pick number 4, Miami Dolphins over the Arizona Cardinals. Miami Dolphins over the Arizona Cardinals. I really feel like this game is going to be on a level that most don't necessarily want it to be on, because Tua's coming back. They need Tua to come back. And I think the Dolphins come out, they protect him. But because you have to respect what this offense can be with Tua, you're going to play a defense that's different. You're going to play a little bit more sound on the passing game. It opens up the running game. I thoroughly believe the Miami Dolphins beat the Arizona Cardinals at home this week. 1,000%. All right, the 5th game we're going to pick. Atlanta Falcons are on the road against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers don't have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. They're running all backup receivers out there. K. Dotton's out there, Rachaad White, and the other 2 running. The 3-headed monster backfield is there. People are bailing on the Falcons. Actually, they're bailing on Kirk Cousins. I've been told that if Michael Penix were to start, this game would go to basically a push. And right now, Tampa Bay's favored. So I'll tell you this. I said Atlanta needs this W. You have to go on the road. This is where Kirk Cousins needs to be the leader, protect the ball, put the ball in the right location, throw for 225 yards, let Bijan Robinson run it, play some solid defense. They need to go after somebody. If I were them, I'd go after Hassan Reddick. You could use a pass rusher like that in the future. You want to be contenders now. You got a young core on offense. Go get Hassan Reddick. But I believe the Falcons hate what happened last week. The injuries are too much for Tampa Bay to overcome. I've got Atlanta in a close one over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right, one of the bigger games of the week, Buffalo Bills at the Seattle Seahawks. This turned into a really marquee matchup, and one that I think could be a 34-31 game. Last second field goal could win this, and honestly, I trust Jason Myers, the Seahawks kicker, over Tyler Bass, the Buffalo Bill kicker. If it comes down to a field goal, I trust Seattle's kicker more. But what I think the difference is going to be is Josh Allen. Amari Cooper changes what the defense can do. Keon Coleman had a really good week last week. And all it took was Amari Cooper showing up, so he didn't have the coverage rolled to his side. I told you guys last week, that Monday night game, Allen looked at Coleman almost every single play to see what coverage was on him. Coleman is a really good wide receiver. And the defenses know this. He's tall, he's got really good hands, he's very good with route running. They're rolling the coverage to his side. With Amari Cooper on the field, you cannot do that. And Amari Cooper, to me, changes this Buffalo Bills offense. It changes the dynamic. You respect Amari Cooper's ability because you know his technical route running is so good. He's not Stephon Diggs. He has route running. They can run double in outs. They can run basically copycat routes for Josh Allen. I think Buffalo shows that their offense is ready. Their defense is getting healthier and healthier. I'd love for them to make a trade for Demario Davis. Maybe Willie Gay from the New Orleans Saints and see if they could get another backer help. I'd love that. I would love to see if they could do that. But I think the Buffalo Bills knock them off. Knock off the Seahawks on the road, the cross-country trip, 4 o'clock kickoff in Seattle. It's fine. It's fine. All right, the final game. The final game we're going to pick. Washington Commanders and the Chicago Bears. Listen, you guys know I love the Commanders. I wouldn't start Jaden Daniels. I wouldn't. If I'm Dan Quinn, I look at him and I go, I don't want to start you. I don't want you to get hurt. But you can dress. If something happens to Marcus, I need you as a backup, but I don't want you starting. Hopefully Marcus makes the whole game. That's what I would do. Marcus Mariota, simple passes. Cliff Kingsbury can get a one-game game plan. Mariota's good enough. The Chicago Bear defense isn't that great. It's good, not great. And the Washington Commander defense has consistently gotten better. They are 4th in the league in yardage per game allowed. 4th. They're middle tier in sacks, middle tier in turnovers, but they are 4th in yardage allowed. They're getting stops. They may not get turnovers, but they get stops. And I think they'll be able to stop Caleb Williams coming off of a bye. I don't trust a rookie anymore. Coming off of a bye, I think he understands the game plan a little bit better. But their offensive coordinator isn't that great. And I don't see them getting that much of a benefit from the bye. The Washington Commanders go 6-2. And if the Eagles lose, the Eagles are 4-4. That would be huge. Now, the third place team in that division is the Dallas Cowboys. This is legitimately just a throw in. I don't have them with a prayer against the 49ers, no matter who's injured for the 49ers. On the road, the Cowboys off a bye. Who cares if they're off a bye? I don't see that game going any other way than a blowout. The Dallas Cowboys will then be 3-5. And basically, they will be out of contention for the division. Yeah, they could turn it around. They'd have to go on a win streak. And then they'd have to hope that Washington and Philadelphia go on a losing streak. That simple. So, I don't see that happening. Like I said, it's not part of Hawks Pick 6 with the extra point. No. That would be unfair. I'm just saying, Dallas, this is an interesting thing. When you start looking at where the standings could be after this week, like if I were to go down and to pick every single game, and let's comment on a couple that are kind of big. It's a really big game, Carolina at Denver. Why is it big? Bryce Young gets a second chance to start. It's not how he wanted it, but he gets a chance to start again. Well, it's against Denver, and Denver's been scrappy. But this is actually more about Bo Nix. Bo Nix now has a chance. Troy Franklin and him the last 2 weeks have started connecting. Courtland Sutton hasn't really been involved too much. So I'm going to tell you right up front, Courtland Sutton could get traded after this week if Troy Franklin really takes off. Bo Nix, Troy Franklin. I said it when they got, when the Broncos drafted both of them, I said it was one of the smartest moves. Get a rookie quarterback, his receiver from college, give him somebody he can trust. And I believe that Franklin, the last 2 games, he's been targeted better. The throws have been better. Nix is growing. I think this is a big game for Denver. It's also a big game for the Chargers. They just lost on Monday Night Football. Well, now they got the Saints coming in. Taysom Hill is healthy. He's going to play. Taysom Hill is the red zone short threat for the Saints. There is no word whether Derek Carr will play yet or not. But that's a big game because the Chargers need kind of have their positioning on the line. We could have only the Pittsburgh Steelers above 500 in the wild card after this week. Everybody else will be 500 or lower. Yeah, think about that for a second. Just think about that. So this week is a very big week. This week will determine a lot of teams that will be buying and selling. I don't think they're going to wait till week 9. They don't like the stress of that final day, that Tuesday. So look for this week to be where teams sell. If certain teams lose, look for some teams to buy. The Bills already bought. Jets already bought. Chiefs already bought. They didn't have a lot of room, so they already bought, got DeAndre Hopkins. There's multiple teams that could make moves to be able to help them in the playoff push. And I can't wait to see what happens. So just to recap, I got Cincinnati over Philadelphia. I've got the Texans over the Colts. The Jaguars over the Packers. I've got the Falcons over the Buccaneers. The Buffalo Bills over the Seattle Seahawks. The Miami Dolphins over the Arizona Cardinals. And the Washington Commanders over the Chicago Bears. Those are my 7 picks for week 8. Well, there we go. That is it. Week 8 is upon us. Maybe I'll do I don't know. I've been wanting to do a college football day recap on Saturday nights. Just because the previews, you guys know what they are. There's not a lot outside of injury news, and that only comes out right before the games anyway. So there's really not a bunch I can do when it comes to previews. But I've thought about doing a Saturday night recap of college football. I watch college football every single weekend. This weekend, College Game Days in Bloomington, Indiana for the Huskies of Washington at the Hoosiers of IU. And we got Navy, Notre Dame, which is big for my family. My dad was in the Navy. So we watch that game every single year. And both teams are ranked. It's a top 25 matchup. Army and Navy are both currently undefeated. So there's a lot of different things. So I want to do that. Like I said, potential life changes will change when I do these. I may be able to do the podcast live, which I think would be absolutely sweet. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. If nothing else, have a fantastic weekend. Watch some football. Have some fun. Cheer them on. May the odds be ever in your team's favor. And thank you so much for listening. Make sure to subscribe. Like the podcast. Ring that bell so you get notified every time a new one comes live. I deeply appreciate every single one of you that listen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I love football. I love football. We were talking the other day, to close this out, let's wrap it up this way. We were talking the other day about the different sports with the father and son because of LeBron James and Bronny playing in the NBA now together. And there aren't that many father-son NBA duos. But in football, there are a bunch. In football, you have quite a few. And we've got a good amount in baseball as well. Football gets in your blood. It's your life source, in a sense. For many families, it's what the weekend thrives on. One of my buddies has moved from Indiana to Georgia, and he is now in the middle of Georgia Uga SEC country. And he and I were talking the other day, and he goes, it is so different to be in a college fan setting where everybody is vested into this college. It's nothing like the NFL. It gets in your blood. Entire families will go to the same school. It's in your blood. It's a family bloodline. And I absolutely love it. Wish you and your team the best of luck this weekend. I will see you guys Tuesday night for the quick recap of the week. Absolutely excited for what this week will bring. Who knows how many trades we'll see by the time I talk to you next. For Sports Talk with Hawk, I am Hawk, and have a great weekend.